Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, and with me is Aditi Loomba, bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. India to open COVID-19 vaccination for everyone above 45 years of age from Thursday. India and Tajikistan agree to further enhance economic partnership. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and his Tajikistan counterpart Sirojuddin Mohiuddin holds talks on bilateral cooperation in Dushanbe. New Delhi to fund 230 million Nepali rupees for reconstruction of 3 cultural heritage projects in Nepal. World Bank predicts India's real GDP growth for fiscal year 2021-22 to range from 7.5 to 12.5%. Philippines expresses deep concern over the continuing unlawful presence of the Chinese vessels in South China Sea. Indian skipper Virat Kohli retains top spot in ICC ODI rankings. And in tennis, world number 1 Ashley Barty to take on 5th seed Elina Svitolina in women's singles semi-final of Miami Open in Florida on Thursday. As the number of COVID cases are on the rise again, we appeal to our listeners not to lower the guard, follow all the precautions, and all those above 45 years to get vaccinated without any hesitation. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. Now the news in detail. The COVID-19 vaccination will be open for everyone aged above 45 years irrespective of comorbidity from tomorrow. Our correspondent reports the cutoff date for the 45 plus years category is those persons born before 1st January 1977. We have a report.
All persons above 45 years and can register themselves in the CoWIN system for booking of appointment for vaccination. On-site registration of such persons will also be permissible. People can go to their nearest vaccination center after 3 p.m. for on-site registration with any identity document. If a beneficiary has taken an online appointment for vaccination on CoWIN, then there is no need to take any further appointment at private or public hospitals. If any hospital does not follow these guidelines of vaccination, then one must lodge a complaint at toll-free number 1075. Suparna Saikya, IR News, Delhi.
Experts have appealed to citizens to get vaccinated without any hesitancy. Ahead of the drive, Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan held a review meeting with all states and union territories on the COVID-19 vaccination drive and preparations. Focus was on the identification of low vaccine coverage pockets in districts showing COVID surge and for taking corrective actions. The states were advised to ensure that only eligible beneficiaries are registered and vaccinated in the category of healthcare workers and frontline workers. Regular reviews of vaccinations at private COVID vaccination centers and proper utilization was also suggested. In the meeting, Chairperson Empowered Group on COVID vaccination Dr. R.S. Sharma assured that there is no problem in the storage and logistics of vaccines. He reiterated that there is no value in conserving vaccines for the second dose and states must promptly supply vaccines to all government and private hospitals. Meanwhile, Yemen and Palestine received Made in India COVID-19 vaccine doses on Wednesday. Under the Vaccine Maitri initiative, India has already provided coronavirus vaccines to over 70 countries. 8 states, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Punjab, and Madhya Pradesh have reported a surge in the COVID-19 daily new cases. 84.73% of the new cases are reported from these 8 states. More than 53,000 new cases have been reported in the country in the last 24 hours. The Health Ministry said more than 603 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines have been administered in the country so far. Meanwhile, the country's COVID-19 recovery rate stands at 94.11%.
External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, on Wednesday held talks with his Tajik counterpart, Sirojuddin Mohiuddin, in Dushanbe on all aspects of the bilateral agenda, including development cooperation. They also exchanged views on regional and international issues of interest. Both leaders agreed to focus on further enhancing the economic partnership. In his press statement, Dr. Jaishankar said Foreign Minister Sirojuddin and he shared a common view that while the bilateral strategic relations have grown and expanded over the years, there is potential for further strengthening the economic cooperation. He said both countries will encourage the business community, the chambers and trade bodies on both sides to engage more intensively with each other, while the governments will continue to play a facilitating role. He said development cooperation has become an important pillar of India-Tajikistan bilateral relationship. A number of projects have been successfully commissioned over the years in Tajikistan under Indian grant assistance. On the last day of his 3-day visit to Tajikistan, the External Affairs Minister met Speaker Zokir Zoda Mohammad Dahir Zoer. He appreciated the strong parliamentary support for Indo-Tajik cooperation. Earlier in the day, the minister paid his respects at the monument of Ismaili Somoni, the founder of the first Tajik state, at Dusti Square in Dushanbe. The World Bank has raised Indian GDP growth prediction for 2021 and 22 fiscal to 10.1% from 5.4% projected in January. The International Bank said, given the significant uncertainty amid COVID-19 effects, the ongoing economy, the real India GDP growth could be in the range from 7.5% to 12.5%. The World Bank, in its South Asia Economic Focus Spring Update report, said that it has revised the projection amid a strong rebound in private consumption and investment growth. The International Bank noted that government consumption is expected to rise by about 16.7% during the reported fiscal.
Indian Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change Prakash Javadekar on Wednesday participated in the virtual Climate and Development Ministerial Meet in the run-up to COP26, the UN Climate Change Conference 2021. Mr. Javadekar said he had suggested COP26 presidency to take up discussion on one issue at a time. He expressed happiness that during the meet issue of finance was discussed exclusively. The minister said he put across India's stand clearly and stressed that for ambitions to be set high, finance should be an integral part. Indian Army Chief General M.M. Naravane has asserted that India did not lose even an inch of its territory during its month-long standoff with China in eastern Ladakh. He was speaking to a news agency. The Army Chief said that after the 9th round of Corps Commanders level talks, both the Indian Army and the People's Liberation Army PLA of China had agreed for phased disengagement from friction areas. General Naravane said that since the disengagement process kicked off last month, there has been relative peace in the region.
India-Mauritius Comprehensive Economic Cooperation and Partnership Agreement CECPA will come into force from Thursday. It provides for an institutional mechanism to encourage and improve trade between the two countries. The CECPA covers 310 export items for India, including foodstuff and beverages, agricultural products, textile, electricals and electronic items, plastics and chemicals. Mauritius will benefit from preferential market access into India for its 615 products, including frozen fish, biscuits, fresh fruits, juices, mineral water, beer and medical and surgical equipment. India and Mauritius had signed CECPA in 22nd February this year. It is the first trade agreement signed by India with a country in Africa. India will fund 230 million Nepali rupees for restoration and reconstruction of 3 cultural heritage projects in Sindhupalchok district in Nepal. A report.
Indian Embassy in Nepal, in a statement on Tuesday, said that 3 contract agreements for reconstruction and restoration of Government of India funded cultural heritage projects were signed by National Reconstruction Authority and contractors. The 3 Gumbas monasteries are Chiri Gyang Gumba, Tarke Gyang Gumba and Milamchi Gyang Gumba of Sindhupalchok district. The 3 projects are part of 28 cultural heritage projects being taken up by the Government of India for post-earthquake conservation and restoration under an MOU signed with the Government of Nepal. The 3 Gumbas will also function as learning centers for Sherpas and Tamang community, mostly Hayolomo people inhabited in Sindhupal Chowk district and also promote the tourism in the Sindhupal Chowk area. The projects are being implemented under US $50 million grant assistance committed by the Government of India for post-earthquake reconstruction of the cultural heritage sites across 8 districts of Nepal. AIR World News, Anita Anand.
The World Bank has made an upward revision in the projected growth rate for Bangladesh for the year 2020-21. According to the latest update for the South Asian region released on Wednesday, the World Bank said that the prospect for an economic rebound in South Asia is firming up as growth is to increase by 7.2% in 2021 and 4.4% in 2022, putting the region on the path to recovery. 6 Sri Lankan nationals were arrested after a boat was intercepted with 300 kilograms of heroin along with a huge quantity of arms and ammunition in Indian waters. The Sri Lankan fishing vessel Ravi Hansi was intercepted by the Indian Coast Guard on March 25th off the coast of Vijaya in Kerala. Investigations so far indicate that an unknown vessel carried the consignment from Chabahar port, Iran, and handed over the same to Sri Lankan fishing boat Ravi Hansi in the high seas near Lakshadweep.
The Philippines said on Wednesday that hundreds of Chinese vessels believed to be manned by militias have spread to a wider area in the South China Sea. In a statement, the Philippines Task Force on the South China Sea has expressed deep concern over the continuing unlawful presence of the Chinese maritime militia in the region. Canada, Australia, the United States, Japan and other nations have voiced concern about China's intentions in South China Sea. Meanwhile, China has said that the boats were sheltering from rough seas and no militia were brought. A day after WHO DG said that China did not provide necessary access to the team of international experts and withheld data from the independent panel of experts tracing the origins of COVID-19 virus in Wuhan, China has refuted the statement. The report, written after 4 weeks of investigative work in the mainland city of Wuhan, drew widespread criticism from countries including the US, which called it incomplete and overly controlled by China. Following the publication of the much-awaited joint study report into the origins of COVID-19 by China and the WHO on Tuesday, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said China had withheld data from the international investigators. He also stated that the panel has not sufficiently examined the controversial hypothesis that the virus could have leaked from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Chinese researchers have been studying different coronaviruses, including ones with similarities to SARS-CoV-2, which causes COVID-19. He also called for further studies to unravel the origin of the virus. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson also refuted a joint statement made by United States and 13 other countries expressing concerns over the WHO report on the origins of COVID-19. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
Now let us take a look at coronavirus updates from the world.
French President Emmanuel Macron to deliver a televised address to the nation on Wednesday. The fast-spreading third wave of COVID-19 infections threatens to overrun hospitals in France. Pfizer Inc. and BioNTech SE said on Wednesday that their COVID-19 vaccine was safe and effective and produced robust antibody responses in 12 to 15-year-olds. Albert Bourla, Pfizer's chairman and chief executive, said in a statement that company planned to seek emergency authorization from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration in the coming weeks and to other regulators around the world. The drug maker expressed hope that vaccinations of the group could begin before the next school year. European Union Commission said on Wednesday that EU states are expected to receive 107 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines by the end of March. It expects that a major ramp-up of the deliveries will be sufficient to inoculate at least 70% of its adult population by July and speed up its so far slow vaccination drive. AIR World News, Anita Anand.
Indonesia has recovered the Cockpit voice recorder CVR from a Sri Vijaya air jet that crashed into the Java Sea in January. The air accident investigator said on Wednesday that it could take up to a week to be able to listen to the recording. The CVR could help investigators understand the actions taken by the pilots of the ill-fated jet. which crashed shortly after takeoff on January 9th, killing all 62 people on board. A preliminary report released by investigators in February said the plane had an imbalance in engine thrust that led it into the crash. The report included information from the flight data recorder. An UN Environment report published on Tuesday said that vulnerable communities disproportionately bear the brunt of environmental degradation caused by plastics pollution. The report called for urgent actions to address this issue and restore access to human rights, health and well-being of vulnerable communities. In today's Hotspot segment, we bring you more details of this UN report.
The report entitled Neglected Environmental Justice Impacts of Plastic Pollution was produced by the UN Environment Programme, UNEP, together with the grassroots environmental group Azul. The findings of the report aim to empower communities affected by plastic waste and advocate for their inclusion in local decision-making. The report showcases how environmental injustices are linked to plastic production. It warns of health problems among African American communities living near oil refineries in the Gulf of Mexico and the occupational risks faced by some 2 million waste pickers in Asia. According to the report, the impacts of plastics on marginalized populations are severe and exist at all stages of the production cycle, from extracting raw materials and manufacturing through to consumption and disposal. Plastic waste not only endangers the livelihoods of those relying on marine resources, it also causes a raft of health issues for people who consume seafood infested with toxic micro and nanoplastics. The report says that women in particular suffer from plastic-related toxicity risks due to higher aggregate exposure to plastics at home and even in feminine care products. According to UNEP, plastic waste has become a major part of the global pollution crisis that must be tackled by strong and effective action plans. The report calls for governments to prioritize the needs of those disproportionately affected by plastic pollution, underscoring that action must be taken at multiple levels. It calls for an expansion in plastic waste monitoring, better studies into its health impacts, and more investment in waste management. It urges the governments to further enforce bans on single-use plastics and encourage their reduction, recycling, and reuse. AIR World News, Anita Anand.
Now the news from the business world. The Sensex and the Nifty today logged losses of more than 1%. Amid weak cues from the global stocks, the Sensex and the Bombay Stock Exchange plunged to close near 49,500 mark, while the Nifty at the National Stock Exchange settled below 14,700 level. A report from the business world.
Sensex declined 627 points or 1.25% to end at 49,509. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange also slipped 154 points, 1.04% to finish at 14,691. On the other hand, mid-cap and small-cap performed better than the Sensex as they logged modest gains. The mid-cap index added 0.07%, while the BSE small-cap index gained 0.52%. In the Sensex pack, shares of 12 companies gained and 18 logged losses, while in sectoral indices, 7 out of 19 sectors climbed. In the global equity market, Asian stocks declined, logging their first monthly loss since last October. Japan's Nikkei 225 plunged 0.9%, Singapore's Straits Times fell 0.8%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng declined 0.7%. China's Shanghai Composite Index slipped 0.4%, and South Korea's Kospi ended 0.3% down. European stocks were also down in intraday trade. Oil prices fell on concerns about the market's recovery. In intraday trade, Brent was trading around $63.80 per barrel. Back home, gold prices fell 10 rupees per 10 grams at the multi-commodity exchange for April contracts. Gold futures was around 43,860 rupees per 10 grams. Silver futures also declined to 20 rupees to trade around 62,900 rupees per kilogram for May contracts. And at the forex market, the rupee appreciated 27 paise to 73 rupees and 11 paise against the US dollar. This is Lalema Aneja Dang for World News, All India Radio.
The Indian Cabinet has approved an investment of 10,900 crore rupees in the food processing industry under the Production Linked Incentive PLI scheme. The objective of production-linked incentive scheme for food processing industry is to support creation of global food manufacturing champions and support Indian brands of food products in the international markets. The scheme will be implemented over a 6-year period from 2021 to 22 to 2026-27. The scheme would facilitate expansion of processing capacity. It will be able to generate processed food output of 33,494 crore rupees and create employment for nearly 2.5 lakh persons by the year 2026 and 27. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said the decision will help in increasing farmers' income and opening better avenues for them. Hailing the new farm laws, Mr. Goyal said that the new provisions are optional and will help farmers increase their income. Mr. Goyal asserted PLI of 10,900 crore rupees to the food processing industry will help create more employment, build sustainable value chain and help create a robust brand value of Indian products. He said wide range of consultation with various stakeholders was carried out by Ministry of Food Processing for over 8-9 months before finalizing the PLI scheme. Our correspondent reports that the scheme will be implemented in the next 6 years. Its important component incentive is for manufacturing of 4 major product segments: ready to cook, ready to eat foods, processed fruits and vegetables, marine products, mozzarella cheese. The second component relates to the support for branding and marketing abroad to incentivize emergence of strong Indian brands.
The second meeting of the Sherpas of G7 and guest countries was held on Tuesday. India's G7 Sherpas, Suresh Prabhu, attended the meeting. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said the priority issues under UK's G7 presidency agenda were discussed. These include preparations for the COP26 summit and global health cooperation. India has been invited as a guest country of the G7 by the UK this year, along with Australia, South Korea and South Africa.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press.
The Washington Post reports White House unveils $2 trillion jobs plans focuses on infrastructure and the climate, representing President Biden's vision for how to reshape the U.S. economy. The New York Times has reported that 2 Capitol police officers sued former President Trump over injuries they said they suffered in January 6 riots. The Guardian reports that the United States orders the departure of non-essential diplomats from Myanmar amid growing violence following the military coup to oust civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi. It also carried a report that UK and US criticized WHO's COVID report and accused China of withholding data. The Sydney Morning Herald has reported that Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China's website suffers a major cyber attack. The Globe and Mail reports that Philippines demands China remove vessels spotted near 6 Manila-claimed islands and reefs. South China Morning Post writes that lawyer Chen Qishi, who went missing from Wuhan for more than a year after reporting on the coronavirus outbreak, remains under surveillance in eastern China but may escape prosecution. And Khalij Times reports that India has the largest air bubble arrangement with the UAE, operate 300 flights per week amid COVID. AIR World News, Anita Anand.
Now some news from the world of sports.
In cricket, Team India captain Virat Kohli has retained his top spot in the ICC rankings for ODI batsmen released on Wednesday. Kohli has 870 points in his kitty. Rohit Sharma has been ranked third behind Pakistan's Babar Azam. KL Rahul has moved up from 31st to 27th spot. Hardik Pandya has achieved a career best 42nd position, while Rishabh Pant has entered the top 100. In bowlers list, Indian pacer Jasprit Bumrah has slipped a place to 4th. He has 690 points. Another pacer, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, has gained 9 slots to reach the 11th position. In the test rankings, spinner Ravichandran Ashwin retained his second spot behind Australia's Pat Cummins. In tennis, world number 1 Australian player Ashley Barty will take on 5th seed Ukrainian player Elena Svitolina in the first women's singles semi-final of 2021 Miami Open Tennis in Florida, USA on Thursday. Barty defeated 7th seeded Arina Sabalenka of Belarus in the quarterfinal 6-4, 6-7, 6-3. Barty is now just 1 win away from retaining her world number 1 ranking. In another quarterfinal match, Svitolina comfortably defeated Latvian player Anastasia Sivatosova 6-3, 6-2. In remaining women's singles quarterfinal matches, Greek player Maria Sakkari will take on Naomi Osaka from Japan, while Canadian player Bianca Andreescu will face Sara Sorribes Tormo from Spain. In men's singles quarterfinals of the tournament, Russian top seed Daniil Medvedev will clash with Spanish player R. Bautista Agut, while Italian player Yannick Sinner will face Alexander Bublik from Kazakhstan. In another men's singles quarterfinal matches, American player Sebastian Korda will take on Andrei Rublev of Russia, while Hubert Hurkacz of Poland will face Greek player Stefanos Tsitsipas. In football, Portugal defeated Luxembourg 3-1 in Group A match of 2022 Football World Cup qualifiers on Tuesday. Portugal and Serbia dropped qualifying Group A on 7 points. In Group B, Sweden are leading with 6 points. In Group C, Italy and Switzerland are leading with 6 points. In Group D, France are leading with 4 points, while Belgium have topped Group E after thrashing Belarus 8-0. In Group I, England are leading with 6 points, while Germany and Armenia are leading with 6 points. In Group J, only the group winners will qualify automatically for the finals in Qatar, with the team finishing second going into the playoffs. Anita Anand, World News, AIR.
The private space company SpaceX has said that its uncrewed SpaceX Starship prototype rocket failed to land safely on Tuesday after a test launch from Boca Chica, Texas in US. The company added that its engineers are investigating the failure. A report.
The Starship was one in a series of prototypes for the heavy-lift rocket being developed by the private space company to carry humans and 100 tons of cargo on future missions to the Moon and Mars. The complete Starship rocket is the SpaceX's next-generation fully reusable launch vehicle to make human space travel more affordable and routine. Starships SN8 and SN9 previously exploded upon landing during their test runs. SN10 achieved an upright landing earlier this month, but then went up in flames about 8 minutes after touchdown. Meanwhile, SpaceX has announced the final members of the crew it plans to send on what it calls the world's first all-civilian mission to space. Anita Anand, World News, AIR.
The flute holds a unique place among musical instruments. Not only is it the oldest among instruments, but it is also the only musical instrument that is found in cultures all over the world. Now we bring you some music from Bansuri flute. The bansuri is a flute made of a single hollow shaft of bamboo. The word bansuri originated from bans, bamboo, and sur, musical note. The bansuri has 6 to 7 holes and depending on the pitch varies in its size. Longer flutes enable lower pitches because they are made up of bamboo. Each bansuri is unique and is made by taking into consideration the individual features of the bamboo. The Indian flute exists as a solo instrument in both Hindustani and Carnatic music. A quick look at the headlines once again. India to open COVID-19 vaccination for everyone above 45 years of age from Thursday. India and Tajikistan agree to further enhance economic partnership. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and his Tajikistan counterpart Sirojuddin Muhriddin hold talks on bilateral cooperation in Dushanbe. New Delhi to fund 230 million Nepali rupees for reconstruction of 3 cultural heritage projects in Nepal. World Bank predicts India's real GDP growth for fiscal year 2021-22 to range from 7.5 to 12.5%. Philippines expresses deep concern over the continuing unlawful presence of the Chinese vessels in South China Sea. Indian skipper Virat Kohli retains a top spot in ICC ODI rankings. And in tennis, world number 1 Ashley Barty to take on 5th seed Elina Svitolina in women's singles semi-final of Miami Open in Florida on Thursday. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists from Nepal. And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.